name is Mary Sanchez, and I want to take a little bit of time to speak about what will be happening on very auspicious date, April 20th. Now, I've had many people asking me about my repertoire ratus, and I will tell you for the first time and the only time that I didn't buy into that little scam that the other people were telling me that I had to give into, because I, for one, have a little bit of taste and quality, and I don't want to find myself in a situation where I regret every single piece of money that I put into it. So I do not have that problem. I'm aware of where my money goes, and I will be really on top of my game, whether I go into a mall, into a store, or whatever. So just know, I do not give money to the scam people who are always out there trying to impersonate me and trying to sell me deals. No, it's clean and healthy. And I won't have anybody messing it up. Not a single soul, not a single person. You better believe that. Now, I want to talk about what is going on, because we have a lot happening right now. And out of all the stuff that occurs in March, we're going to be having something super powerful occur in April. Specifically, around the mid part of the month. Let me tell you that here are my plans for the mid part of this month. There will be a trip that will be set up for all of us to go to the World War II Museum around that particular point in time. And the reason why I made that plan is because at the moment that it happens, at midnight it happens, we're all going to be in a huge room filled with seats. And we're going to be listening to a real live version of that charismatic authority. Now, I do want to also make something very clear with all of you. I am fully aware that many people have been destroyed in history. I'm very aware there's a lot of damage and a lot of hate out there. And I want to acknowledge that I fully empathize and I fully understand. However, it would be remiss of me to not have this plan be fulfilled in 10 time during this particular lunation. It is essential that this time, this day, not any other day, that it is fulfilled, that it happens. Because just a couple of signs away is our sun in Scorpio. The new moon on the 21st was Aries all the way. But then this thing is coming along, and it's very different indeed. And the whole reason why it is so special, the whole reason, is because, and let me tell you, I know somebody very, very well who would obliterate me if this comes out of my mouth. But the reason why this particular lunation is so special and incredible is because it is the first new beginning of a karmic cycle, which will begin in July, and it will be lasting all the way up until January of 25. It is the first glimpse into the energy of authenticity that we'll be experiencing this. And this will leave a mark on you, that you will be surprised. On the surface, it isn't that important, isn't it? But you will be surprised that negative, in terms of its look and experience, can actually be quite positive. And there may be something there with this. After all, as we know, the plane had the rain in Spain for a reason. And you want to know why that is so significant. The plane had the rain coming on it in Spain is because the plane was vulnerable to destruction because it put itself in a destructive circumstance. The plane put itself into this circumstance. There are rules and regulations that are flying all around the world, saying, do what is practically right. Do what is logical. There are all these pictures and all these advertisements and all these rules to do what is right. there are regulations that say, if there is a storm, do not fly. Do not fly. And this plane decided it was going to take off. Not only did it rain on the plane in Spain, but the plane was obliterated. It was destroyed, just like all of those numbers. They were just another number of all those people in the Holocaust were destroyed. They did get the rain on them. Not because they were put in that situation, but ultimately the rain did rain upon them. They were taken down energetically. Not only that, but physically. They were put into a kind of destructive chamber. And this plane was destroyed. That is what can happen when you have a hot 29-degree eclipse. And now you can go about hating me. And I have to mention this because there's a certain kind of frequency that is important here. Let me tell you about that frequency. You have a sizzling pot on the stove that is about to boil over. Just about. But when you have this Aries energy at this degree coming together with the square to Pluto and with that eclipse in there, that pot is going to boil over. And then, starting the next day, we can go into our examination for the next 3 weeks. We can look at the pot and we can analyze all of the different parts of that pot. We can review the mess we've made so we know when to take this energy to the high level. When you have an erratic degree of Mars-ruled signs, it is very likely that you will do something that will be destructive to yourself, to the world. November 21st of 2022, there was a news story about a child who was so stressed out about an assignment that he had to get done that his relationship with his family was what was the cost of that. And that relationship was destroyed. The relationship was destroyed. The mill wasn't working in the factory. And the Lord Chamberlain said, oh well, this isn't working properly. Destroyed it impulsively. You think that you're early, and you have all this time, yet you're late. The Duke of Durham specifically saw that his schedule was all the way empty. And when he didn't fill it all the way in because it looked empty, and an official came into the room on that particular day. This happened at 3 o'clock p.m. that particular day. Wait a second, if I'm getting that correctly. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock on November 21st, an official came into the room, told him, Slovenia is against you. You've got to get the army together, get something happening. Because they're going to come here, they're going to destroy the castle, they're going to cause a lot of chaos. Mind you, that the Duke of Durham was sitting in a state of spiritual bliss. Spiritual bliss. He has a practice of meditation. And he sits and he meditates to ground his mind, to ground his thinking, to get him centered down. It's as if a switch flicked the exact other way, from ring of gold and spiritual nirvana to totally devolved. As soon as the urgency and the demand for that official and what he had to say to him, when that came out of his mouth, the Duke of Durham went into a frenzy of stress, of pressure, of panic, of overwhelm, and he was so aggravated. He knocked the official down on the ground and suddenly became an evil dictator. And he decided to blow all of Slovenia up. Blow all of it up. He ordered, people, send around nuclear weapons, blow this whole thing up. People got together, things happened really quickly. They blew Slovenia, all of Slovenia, up. People were very surprised. They had never seen the Duke of Durham to be this intense and this volatile, this on edge, this impatient, and this determined. He's usually pretty fair-minded. But as soon as it came to him, as soon as he did not expect this at all, as soon it was a complete surprise. It was so sudden. By nightfall they would come. By, 5, they would be arriving. This is huge. People coming to invade your country. The Duke of Durham didn't know that. It's huge. So many groups of powerful people coming to invade your palace, invade your country. So much stress and so much pressure. So short notice. And it's a deadline. November 21st is the bloody day, November 21st, 2022 is known historically as the bloody day of deadlines. If you have a deadline, you have two choices. Either torture yourself or put your will in misery and discomfort and pressure to go through it, that it's painfully difficult, painfully taxing. And he did the extreme route of it, which was Scorpio, Sun and Moon, 29 degrees of Scorpio, and he blew the whole thing up. And then the next day, as the dust settled, the whole thing was blown up, and he then had to deal with all the repercussions of his destruction. He himself did not cause this destruction. But that luminary hanging out at 29 degrees of Scorpio, the last degree before moving into a new sign, it's like it's so hot and intense, it's like a room that is so hot, just like those tarot things. You need the freshness of the windows to be open. You need a new beginning, but while it's hot, you